Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent computer role-playing game. This week I'm taking a very brief look at an action-adventure/role-playing game, Eternity: The Last Unicorn. Developed by Void Studios and published by 1C Entertainment, it was released back in March of 2019. Eternity is a low-budget action-adventure/role-playing game with a vaguely Norse mythology-inspired storyline, in which you play the part of an elven woman or a Viking and gain experience through defeating various enemies. You craft various items and upgrades, and generally advance the story through exploration, although in a very linear way. In terms of plot, it begins with the immortal elves, whose longevity is linked to unicorns. At some point, all of the unicorns vanish, and the elves, worried over their looming mortality, seek to find some solution. A single unicorn is found, cursed and wounded, and an elven woman named Orehen sets out to find some way to cure it and free it. Starting out, you are placed in the world and proceed through areas very linearly, with the ability to move about, execute a basic attack, dodge, and inspect various objects and items. As you deal or receive damage, you fill up a meter, which you can then use to unleash a major/magic weapon attack. You can also assign a healing item and a rune item to various hotkeys. Healing items can restore your hit points or cure statuses like poison, or sometimes both. Runes generally boost a particular stat for combat, being it hit points, defenses, attacks, or more. They generally last a certain duration, kind of like temporary buffs. Characters have a level, a hit point total, and experience. They also have stats in the form of attack power, physical resistance, critical attack chance, attack speed, craft chance, and poison resistance. Leveling up improves these stats, although in order to actually improve hit points, you have to find pieces of a medallion in order to increase your overall health bar. During play, aside from various crafting, healing, and rune items, you can also uncover various crystals. Green crystals heal damage you've taken on the spot, while red crystals are used at shops to buy various items. Shortly into the game, you also uncover the ability to craft various items out of consumables that you find. Now, most of the items you craft are consumables, although a few key items can be crafted with the correct items as well. Aside from that, gameplay is extremely simple. You move from one screen to the other with a fixed camera viewpoint on each section, unlocking doors and solving minor puzzles to proceed. Enemies will spawn in most areas, which you then have to fight, usually in waves. There are bosses with their own boss meters, and they provide a serious challenge, but generally speaking, fighting just consists of simple, straightforward attacks and dodges, although some enemies will need a special magic attack to defeat once you've charged it up. I wish there was more to say about it, but it's very generic in its setup, and one which honestly has less RPG elements in it than some action games I've played lately. As far as graphics and music, the music is okay. It's a little generic again, and there was something a little bit off about some of the phrases in the title music, but I don't really have anything other to say about it. I guess the word I used about the sound design is inoffensive at best. Graphically, it's a little bit low res, as to be expected for a low budget indie game. I will say that I do really like the overall art design of the game, though. I found it extremely nice, although I can see where some might find it a little bit generic as well. What I experienced of the writing was also nothing to really write home about either. Interface design is minimal overall. There's a very, very simple menu system, and it's all very, very well laid out. This seemed like the kind of game that would benefit from a controller. I couldn't get mine to be recognized after some trying, and your mileage may vary on that regard. I ended up using the mouse and keyboard system, and the mouse and keyboard controls that I could use were absolutely atrocious. And I'm not entirely sure that a controller would have improved that issue, since a lot of the problems I had with the controls really boiled down to the actual action of the combat itself. You're expected to lock onto enemies or run in towards them or dash in and then execute basic attacks, then dodge away from their attacks or to the side. This is great in theory. I've played a huge number of games that this basic setup works with, not the least of which are the Souls series. But there seems to be a certain inconsistency with the responsiveness of dashing and dodging in this game, and when you combine this with the lack of variation in your character's attacks, the amount of hits some of the creatures can take, even after accounting for the instant kill effect you can trigger on some of them, and the way in which the fixed camera angle can make it very difficult to see some enemies in the midst of combat, it can turn combat into a real chore, and the game relies so much on throwing waves of enemies at you that this can become a real issue. Another milder complaint I had was the save point system. Eternity: The Last Unicorn uses a combination of save points and checkpoints, which is alright, I guess. It allows you to resume the game after a checkpoint when you die. But as far as actual progress is concerned, that's only saved at a proper save point when you manually save it. And so if you want to take a break, you have to hike all the way back to a proper save point to do so, or risk using your progress. So, is Eternity: The Last Unicorn worth it? In my opinion, no. At least not anywhere close to the base price. And I'm actually sort of breaking my rule of coverage here with this one, since I usually say I'll only cover something if it's got a sum of redeeming factors. I wanted to like this game. I really did. I do find the art style charming, but that's honestly about it. The storyline seems very generic, albeit liberally sprinkled with Norse names and terms, and it's saddled with some lackluster gameplay and difficult controls. I would really only recommend this if you can find it deeply discounted or as part of a bundle like I did, and even then only if you've got some time to kill. I really wanted to see more of this game, but unfortunately it was just such a chore to get through. That having been said, I will leave a link to where you can pick it up below, just in case you do feel like checking it out. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday: Eternity: The Last Unicorn. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. Until next time, take care and goodbye. And if you're still watching this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank those who have supported this channel via Patreon or direct donations throughout the years, without which this channel could not have lasted as long as it has. For those who are feeling particularly generous, you can still support my work through Patreon and now through Subscribestar as well, through the links in the description below.